Hey everyone, welcome to another Lettuce Garden scripting tutorial. In this video, we're going to talk about how to make our force powers work on actual real characters in the game rather than just NPCs. So you can see here, this is a real character in the game that I'm playing with. I can push, pull, and I can do the force choke, and it's a real character. So stay tuned, we're going to go over how to make this system. If you need any help with this, check out our Discord server in the description, and if you want the assets, check out our link in the description to take you to our website. So first, let's create a new module in our utilities folder. New module script. And what we can do here is, let's open up our get animation track module for a second. We can see that here, we've set this up in a way where we want to return a function. So let's do the same thing with our new script here. So let's rename our module script to get characters. And then here we can do return function. And we can actually copy quite a bit of code from our previously created systems. So let's open up our choke module, for example, and we can scroll down to where we see local characters equals collection service get tag character. So let's copy this line, Control C to copy, and come into our get characters function here, and Control V to paste. Let's import our collection service. So local collection service equals game get service collection service. And now we can return characters. Now, before we return characters, we also want to add in all of the actual real characters in our game. So let's import our players. So local players equals game get service players. And then here we'll do for underscore player in players get players do. So we're going to loop through every player in our game. So for every player, we're going to do if player.character, then table.insert characters player.character. So for every player in the game, if they have a character, we're going to add them to the characters table. It's based on the way your game is set up. You might also have a character tag that's already applied to characters. And if that's the case, we don't want to add multiple characters to, like, we don't want to add the same character multiple times to the characters table. So what we can do here is we can also say if table.find characters player.character, then continue. So if characters already has player.character, then we're going to continue. Otherwise, we're going to insert the player into the characters array. All right, so now we can close out this get characters module and go back to our choke module. And just like we did here with the get animation track, we can also get the get characters module. And actually, I see here that we used a lowercase g for our get animation track. So let's do the same thing for our get characters, lowercase g. All right, and let's make a new variable up here called local util. So local utils equals, and we could copy all of this and bring it up here. The reason why we're doing this is because we don't want to have to write that script.parent.parent.utils every time. We just want to do utils.whatever. So now that we have our utils module, we can also do local get characters equals require utils.get characters. And then here, local characters equals collection service, we can just change this to local characters equals get characters. And then this will get all of our test rigs and the actual characters in our game. And now we're not using collection service anywhere in our script, so we can just remove it. And let's do the same thing in all of our other force power scripts. So I'm going to copy all of this. And I'm going to go over to our pull script, and I'm going to replace get animation track with this new line of code. Replace characters equal with get characters, and remove the collection service line. And same thing in our push. So replace that, remove collection service, and then characters equals get characters. All right, so now what we can do to test this out is, well, first let's just test out that it still works with our test characters. So if I walk up to our characters here and I click E to do the push, we see that they are pushed properly. And if I now go up into my test tab and make sure this is on 2 players and click start to start a 2-player test, we can see what this looks like with 2 players. So this other player here that spawned in is an actual real player. You can see them in the leaderboard, player 1. So if I click E next to them, turns out it doesn't do anything. So let's take a look at this. So the difference between our fake characters and the real character is the physics on the real character are controlled by the device that the player is playing on. So if I'm playing on my local machine controls those physics. So when I apply physics on the server, nothing happens to my player because the computer controlling my character doesn't actually see that request come in. So what we're going to do is when we apply a physics force on one of our characters, we're going to remove the ability for that character to control their own physics temporarily, and then we'll give them back their physics after time. So we can come up to our push script to do this first. To do this, we'll need to import our players. So local players equals game get service players. And down here, when we apply the impulse, this is where we want to do our physics manipulations. So we can say here, local player equals players get player from character, enemy character. We want to get the correct player object here so that we can reset the physics properly. So before the impulse, we want to say root part set network ownership to nil. This will set the network ownership to the server. And then here we want to do task dot delay 1 for 1 second. And then we can do root part set network ownership player. So before we apply the impulse, we'll set it to nil. After the impulse, after 1 second, we'll set it back to the player. Sorry, this should say set network owner, not ownership, set network owner. And now we can test this out in our 2-player server once again. And now when I walk up to my character and click E, they get pushed properly, which is what it's the same thing we saw with our characters. So I can click E on a real player to push them, or I can click E on a group of NPCs to push them. So let's do this same change with our other force powers now. So within our poll script, let's open this up. Again, let's import players. So local players equals game get service players. And we can scroll down here. Right before the impulse, we can do local player equals players get character from player. Sorry, get player from character. And we have the enemy character. And then we can do root part set network owner nil. Task.wait 1 function root part set network owner player. And we can also do this for our choke. So for our choke, we can do right before our animation. This is going to be a bit different for our choke because our choke finishes differently, right? So we have our stop function down here where we want to clean this up. So up here in our start function where we're actually creating the tweens and stuff, we can do root part set network owner nil. And then in our stop function, this is where we want to set the network ownership back properly. So we can do, in here we can do character dot primary part set network owner player, but we have to get the player, so we can do local player equals players. Get player from character, and we have to import players as well, so local players equals game get service players. All right, let's do another 2-player test and test all of this out. So just like before, I can push. I can now pull by hitting Q, so I can pull the character towards me. If I hit C, they have a force choke. And if I go my other player here, you can see what these look like. So I can push, pull, and force choke. So let's end this test. So that's it for this video. So we focused on making our force powers work on other characters. In the next couple of videos, we'll talk about how to set up a user interface for our force system so you can see your force stamina, as well as restricting the system to certain users in the group or user IDs and stuff like that. So those will be the next couple of videos. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want the assets for this, check out the link in the description to go to our website. And if you need help with anything, please check out our Discord server.